Welcome back to another episode of Proof of Vision with Alea Research. Today I had on Nenad, co-founder of DeFi Saver. For those that don't know, DeFi Saver is it's not an app, it's not a project. It's basically a tool for managing DeFi positions, mostly targeting DeFi power users. So for sophisticated users, whales, even some institutions with a whole bunch of positions across chains, across different protocols, DeFi Saver basically provides a one single unified place to manage all of these positions, whether it's stablecoin farming, leverage borrowing, or looping across lending protocols. Yeah, DeFi Saver kind of integrates them all into one place. All the most popular protocols, strategies, streamlines these more complex transactions. That's actually where they make their money. That's where their business model is based around. So simple transactions like some basic swaps, things like that, carry no fees, right? And then the more complex transactions with multiple steps, multiple hops are where the fees come into play. So in this episode, we got to discuss what exactly DeFi Saver is, because there isn't really any peer one-to-one competitors of DeFi Saver. We also went over a quick demo of what users can access on the actual platform itself. We discussed just some of the thought processes that the team has when it comes to implementing new strategies and integrating new protocols into the platform itself. So whether you're familiar with DeFi Saver or not, I think this is a really good episode to kind of learn more about the offerings that it has and how to use the platform more effectively. Have a listen. Welcome back to another episode of Proof of Vision with Alea Research. I'm your host for today, and today we have on Nenad, co-founder of DeFi Saver. So before we get into the project, do you maybe want to give a personal background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, like you mentioned, my name is Nenad. I'm one of the co-founders of DeFi Saver. My personal background is actually a technical one, right? I started off as a programmer. Essentially, that's even how I got into crypto. I was looking for interesting technologies, and also at the time I was kind of getting more and more interested in finance. So obviously around like 2017, that was one of the bull runs in crypto. So I started like exploring the Bitcoin and reading the Bitcoin white paper. Eventually I figured out there's something called Ethereum, and I really loved that I could like program smart contracts on it. So I started developing all sorts of smart contracts. And then eventually I linked up with a few other people in Serbia that were doing Ethereum development in 2017. So that's the parent company. The center is how we started. We did a bunch of like R&D projects because the actual space was pretty early on in 2017, so we were still in the kind of the exploration phase. But in 2019, we kind of figured out that there's a movement called DeFi, and we started working on a product. Then it was called CDP Saver because it was only for MakerDAO. Now it's called obviously DeFi Saver as we integrate a bunch of different protocols. So yeah, that's a really quick rundown of the kind of my background.
Thank you. Yeah, Serbia, that's nice. Is there a big community out there in Serbia?
Right now, kind of it is. At the
Cool.
beginning, obviously, it was a pretty new technology, so people didn't know about it. But there's now a couple of companies from Serbia, and then a lot of freelancers and people in the industry.
Yeah, it's great. Great background on yourself. I think for now, I mean, I would say, I think some of our audience will definitely be familiar at a minimum with DeFi Saver.
Yeah.
But for those that aren't, can you kind of give a high level overview what DeFi Saver is? Kind of what do you tell people? When they ask what you're working on.
Yeah, it's actually not that easy because people come from different backgrounds. So kind of a one-liner we often use, it's a better tool for DeFi. Essentially, it's a management platform where you aggregate all the DeFi protocols you normally use. It's in one place, and we provide additional functionalities. Now that's kind of a lot of words, and people often get confused. So very often I do get a follow-up question. So like, is it the wallet? Is it the protocol? Is it something else? So when I get those kind of questions, it's usually like, okay, let's dumb it down a bit. So it's a web application you can go and use. You can connect your crypto wallet you usually use, like MetaMask or something. From there, you can access a bunch of different DeFi protocols like Aave, Compound, Morpho, and so on. And we provide a lot of additional functionalities on top of it. So you can save a lot of time and know-how and money by kind of using functionalities that will repay your loan when the price drops, where you can move to different protocols as you like. And so essentially kind of it's an aggregator, but also kind of a power tool where you can supercharge your DeFi positions and do complicated stuff kind of from the UI easily and not be a shadowy super programmer to do those kind of stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for the background. So I think, yeah, especially for those, like, yeah, you said you joined the space in like 2017. Yeah, but I think even for a lot of people that joined in like 2021 around that era, yeah, I mean, that kind of thing, like even just at like the individual protocol level is lacking. And then over time, yeah, like the individual protocol started, yeah, like kind of refining their UX, adding some more, like optionality, yeah, like for a lending market, like looping, like things like this. But yeah, if you're engaging with like a bunch of different protocols at once, so you're kind of like, okay, like you're hoping like each and every one kind of catches up. Yeah, so I think it's a good background. You mentioned you just can connect their MetaMask, Ravi, but you also have the Safe smart wallet integration as well, right? Do you want to give some color on that?
Yes. So basically what I just mentioned is that we have a bunch of advanced functionality, one of which is like automation, where you can essentially like automate your action in the future when a price drops or something like that happens. So the question arises, if we're a non-custodial app, which we are, how can you pay back my position when the price drops if you don't have access to my money? A good question, right? So basically, that's why we use a smart wallet like Safe. Then if we have the position actually on the actual position on the smart wallet, then we can provide like additional smart contract functionalities where we don't take custody of the money, but there's special functions we can call that if and only the price drops this low as the user said it, we can call this function that does this action. So essentially it's still non-custodial as it's all in the smart contract logic, but we can, for instance, automate a lot of stuff or even create, one loop transactions, Zaps, and so on. So the history of us using the actual like smart wallets is from the actual beginning. From a technical standpoint, for us to enable those kind of advanced functionalities, we need to use them. We switched over to Safe like, I'm bad with time, but I think like a year and a half ago, basically because Safe is the largest multi-sig wallet out there. Basically the best, it's open source, it's open-ended, it has a lot of community support. And we just kind of didn't want to reinvent the wheel with our own smart wallet. So why not use something that's really battle tested? Just to kind of clear out, so you still as a user, you connect as you would connect to any usual app with your Ravi, MetaMask, Ledger, whatever kind of wallet you have. It's just that we have like smart wallet capabilities that you can, through your smart wallet, do more advanced stuff. But if you only have your EOA and want to use it like that, you're still able to do a lot of stuff on DeFi Saver. If you do want to have a few more additional functionalities, then you can kind of easily move your position to a smart wallet, and you kind of won't even really notice the difference from the user perspective. You'll just kind of enable additional functionalities that a smart wallet can provide.
This episode is brought to you by Pendle. Pendle is a leading protocol in the DeFi yield sector, operating as a permissionless yield trading protocol, facilitating the tokenization and splitting of any yield-bearing assets in DeFi. This allows users to speculate on future yield or earn a fixed rate on their assets. Learn more at pendle.finance.
Yeah, great explanation. So I think, I think really quick, I just asked you if, Yeah, you mentioned, I think it's a good kind of like segmentation of the product, right? Like obviously, even like centralized exchanges kind of have this, right? Like advanced mode or pro mode, and like they have the more simple one. So I guess, how do you think about like users? Like, do you have like two different types of users in mind? Like one for the might be more interested in these advanced functionalities. Like, just walk me through kind of how you guys think about your target audience of kind of like
Yeah,
these
yeah, sure.
DeFi like power user types.
Yeah, that's kind of a big question that we often talk about in the company. Essentially, we are more of a power tool, so we aren't really a good place for a total crypto beginner to start their journey. We have a lot of options, a lot of additional functionality that you kind of need to already understand some of the things. What we do try to cater to is for people that are kind of already using DeFi and kind of at least know how to, buy some Ether, use Aave, or do some like basic operations on Ethereum on L2s. Those are kind of one target audience where we recently developed a lot of kind of features where it's easily for those kind of people to guide you, like, hey, if you want to have a savings account, if you want to do some low level trading, if you want to do some borrowing and so on, you can kind of easily find the use cases. At the same time, we have a group of like high-end DeFi OG individuals that are currently, running 7 different strategies on 5 protocols and use DeFi Saver as kind of the only tool that provides so much functionalities. And we definitely like working with those kind of people and want to support. At the end of the day, those are type of the users that we are personally in the company as well. So it's always kind of a mixture of like providing all the advanced functionality, but also thinking about how can we streamline the UX so that people actually find like what are the use cases, and then they can create all sorts of stuff from there.
Right. I think it's a good explanation. But before I move on, I guess I just want to ask, like, do you guys, or like, who would be your competitors? What would you say? Like, are there any kind of like one-to-one competitors?
Yeah, it's such a kind of unique space. Like I said, we're not a
Right.
protocol, we're not a wallet, and so on. I wouldn't say there's like direct competitors. There are a lot of people that at one point of time were doing similar stuff. Now they weren't. Now they aren't. Like InstaDop, we for a long time we kind of had similar platforms. Now they're more focused on building Fluid, which we actually integrated. Summerfy as well. We have some similar functionalities, but at the same time, they're now more in kind of the yield strategy game. Contango is maybe more for looping LSTs. So because we are doing a lot of different areas, there's some overlap with different companies. But I would say kind of over time, like we all started to differentiate with our different paths.
Right. And then I guess, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine, like, these kind of protocols, like, you're integrated with, well, first of all, yeah, how many protocols are you guys actually integrated with?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't really know. On top of my head, I would say, like, if we just count lending protocols, I would say around 10-ish. If you count all the exchange aggregation and all the kind of second-end protocols we do integrate, it's probably, I don't know, 30 plus different protocols when you count all the exchange aggregators and so on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, where I was going with that is, like, I mean, are these protocols like pretty much like very happy to just be like, okay, yeah, like, sure, you can come integrate with us? Because I just don't see like is there any downside really for them at all? Like, I feel like they should be pretty kind of yeah, receptive of this kind of arrangement, which, yeah, as you mentioned, isn't really like common. You guys are kind of, yeah, in a unique spot that you have all this going on, kind of putting it in one place. I mean, I just feel like, yeah, are these protocols kind of like happy to have this distribution?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a win-win scenario where we can integrate something that our users actually want. And for the actual protocol, they have like a second interface. If something's wrong with their interface or whatever, like they can always point the users to us as well. We build additional functionalities for their users as well. So it's kind of a good symbiosis of like we push kind of users to them, but also we have kind of kind of access to those users because of them, right? One thing I would like to mention is that we actually we never like charged or make any like backroom deals for like different protocols to get into that. So we like to kind of stay, kind of to have the ability to actually like curate and pick like things we actually want to integrate, and so the users actually know that it's stuff that we personally use and have strong belief that it's good.
Yeah. Okay. I think good to clarify that. I mean, on that note, so yeah, I think we can kind of get into this. Like, what is the kind of business model if you had to break it down for the audience?
Yeah, sure. It's if you look at the different crypto apps, our business model is quite simple. We take fees on advanced actions. So what are those advanced actions? Basically, those are actions that contain a sell in them and that are not like super simple. So for instance, if you just go to DeFi Saver and swap some ETH for DAI, you won't get charged any fees, as it isn't really a complex transaction to do a basic swap. But if you're, for instance, doing a deleveraging of your Aave position and you're doing it with one click or automatically, then we take a fee on the actual swap amount. The fees can vary depending on like which assets you're swapping. So it's like 25 basis points for like uncorrelated assets. It's like 10 basis points for correlated assets like LSTs and ETH and stuff like that, and it's like 1 basis points for like stable to stable coin. And we actually have like 5 basis points extra if it's an automated transaction. With a few caveats here and there, but essentially that's kind of the majority of the like the user is aware, and we always write when you perform an action, you'll see if it has a fee or if it does not have a fee. So we can always be transparent of what's going on. But yeah, if it's something that we feel like we provide additional value, you can't get anywhere else. We're gonna take a small fee to keep the business running. If it's something that you can do on the actual websites of the protocols and so on, we don't charge any extra there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty like it's pretty gracious. Like yeah, you know how like egregious sometimes the fees are on like if you're a Kraken or Coinbase, like we just don't flip the toggle onto advanced mode. You're just getting like rinsed on fees. But yeah, that's really interesting. So like, I guess because it's kind of like your prerogative, your incentive, whatever you want to call it. Do you guys find yourself kind of like because earlier you mentioned that you guys aren't like you do naturally cater towards more the like DeFi power user crowd. So yeah, do you guys find yourself like targeting that kind of audience and maybe not spending as much time marketing towards like the users like the more basic functions? And then do you find yourselves like kind of trying to not upsell, but you know what I mean, right? Like users who maybe aren't making super sophisticated transactions at first and trying to like have them explore other things. Is that something that you guys are like proactive on at all, or not really?
Yeah, sure. Those are good questions. So yeah, like you mentioned, it is always kind of a struggle to actually like build the advanced stuff, but also don't alienate the new users and people who are trying to find out the use cases. To be quite honest, I feel like we weren't doing a good job on actually like you mentioned, like upsell or kind of guiding the users to actually find like the use case and kind of present what's possible. We are kind of fixing that in the past, few months, or in the past 6 months. I think we built a couple of features we feel like help a lot the user to actually navigate. So essentially one of the observations we had is that especially like in the current like state of DeFi, there's a lot of different things you can, for instance, do on Aave, right? Some people are doing just basic borrowing, some people are doing leverage LST, some people are doing leverage, Ethena trades, PT assets, pendles. There's probably like 10 different use cases that you can do just on Aave. And we have a generalized interface that can support all 10. but it's obviously hard for the user that has in mind to do like one use case to actually kind of navigate and figure out which mode, how he can enable that, in which asset he needs to supply, when he needs to supply, and so on. So we kind of were in the past, like I mentioned, 6 months, where we were working a lot on keeping the generalized functionality. So if you already know all of that stuff, you can just do them without us kind of messing your flow, but providing the user like easy paths and discoverability of like, hey, there's options here, we can navigate them for you. Or if you already know what you're doing, like go ahead, there's a whole dashboard with a lot of buttons you can press.
Yeah, I think it is really kind of interesting. Like even just like the general like DeFi landscape, you can say, just like over the course of like 2 years, just like so many like net new things that just didn't exist. A whole lot of stuff. You have different lending protocols integrating like these like the Pendle assets, where they kind of change like the like the balance of power and stuff. So I imagine there's a lot of things for you guys to think about, like a lot maintenance, I guess. Like a lot of maintenance when you have a lot of these protocols integrated. But I mean, I guess kind of walk me through. So like, I think for the listener, like, okay, like they have like a pretty good understanding of like what, what you guys are about. But for something like DeFi Saver, like I think they kind of have to, like, you kind of have to see it a little bit first, or like kind of So can you maybe walk me through like the user flow a little bit, or like the discover page, I guess you could say, and how like how someone might actually use a product like this, understanding that it's kind of like a one-of-one thing, right?
Yeah. Do you want me maybe to share the screen, or can we talk just in?
If you want, actually, I think that'd be good. Yeah.
Just set it up. So, okay, I think you can see it now, right?
Yep. Nice.
Sure. So you can see on the left side, there's a bunch of different protocols and recipe creators, bridges, and so on. So that's essentially when you know what do you want to do. You want to go to Aave, do a specific action, and so on. Maybe you're new in this space. Maybe you're looking which is the best protocol to open up a loan, and so on. So the discover page is essentially all that. You can kind of search through a lot of different lending protocols, and based on different actions you want to perform, or different, like, what's the supply APY, what's the net APY. So for instance, if the user comes to DeFi Saver and he has an intention of maybe like doing some sort of long ETH position, obviously he can pre-select here, enter maybe the amount of money he's willing to spend, and maybe let me just add, for instance, if you're just doing leverage, maybe he wants to do a kind of a safe leverage, and see like what are the different options on which chains and so on. So we can see that, for instance, that something like this, it's not possible in most cases in kind of traditional CeFi. You mentioned Binance and stuff like that you can open up a leverage position, for instance, on Fluid, on Base, and get paid basically 3% APY for it. So basically meaning that you're not paying any fees, that because you're kind of doing a leverage position, you're actually earning money on the actual interest here. Obviously, it's a trading position, so it depends on the price of ETH, but you're not losing any money if you're just staying in the position. That's kind of an interesting thing, in DeFi that you can do. Some people maybe want to extend the leverage and see like what protocol offers actually like a higher leverage. Obviously, you can actually, if you are, for instance, a whale and you have more money, you can actually filter and see like what type of protocol can support your liquidity. And that's just like one use case of like potentially longing it. Obviously, you can just farm it for passive APY, or maybe farm stables. I'm just like showing all the kind of pre-made pills that are kind of usual use cases, but obviously here you can kind of go in and select different chains, different assets, maybe you as a user have some sort of more exotic token you want to put up as collateral, so you can see if any of the common lending protocols support your token as the actual collateral and so on. So yeah, hopefully like it's kind of understandable.
Yeah, I think it'll be understandable, especially for the viewers. Yeah, and if you're just listening, yeah, you should come to the actual YouTube video or the X video
Yeah.
and take a look. But yeah, I mean, I think it is like it's pretty intuitive. I think it's going to be it's like it's a good UI for like a good diverse range of people. It kind of reminds me of like kind of like the DeFi Llama kind of interface that they've had for years, right? But if you actually like you could actually I mean, and they have actually kind of introduced those features as well. But yeah, just being able to filter like yield opportunities on DeFi Llama, things like that. Yeah, filter by asset, all that stuff, right? Stable coins. I think it's a pretty like intuitive UI. And I guess this is more of a general question, and then we can get back into the app. But like, what did you think about the base app kind of integrating like Aerodrome, Uniswap, like these on-chain things, and just kind of just having the assets able to be traded right on the mobile application?
Yeah, I actually think like there's a big movement. I don't think it's just the base app. I see a lot of different wallets actually kind of integrating a lot of DeFi capabilities and kind of trying and kind of being that like one-stop shop for when the user actually goes there for the wallet capabilities. They actually get all the things they can do. We'll see how that plays out in the future. Obviously, I think that's a kind of a worthwhile kind of idea and thing to pursue. I would say how like DeFi Saver fits in and all that. I do think that like for the more advanced use cases and for people that are kind of into DeFi and kind of have the need to actually do a lot of different things, they kind of need a DeFi Saver type of app. If you're just trying to, as a beginner user, stake some tokens, earn some passive APYs or something like that, then probably just, going to the base app or something like that, the Robinhood or Phantom, MetaMask, they'll have the basic functionalities ready. But my belief is like you'll still need, advanced interfaces and strategies and all that stuff here as well.
Yeah, 100%. Although the proposition of like a mobile wrapper for DeFi, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't sound too bad in my head. But definitely a lot more complex. Like to have what you guys are doing on mobile is obviously a lot more complex than a Solana LSD or something, right? I think we can go back to the app a little bit. I think you guys recently released the trending page as well, because you said earlier like you guys have like a multitude of options, right? So and then with this trending page, and like are there any other things that you guys are doing to kind of like put things in front of the user? I guess you could say.
Yeah. So basically, the trending page is something we released a couple of days ago. Discover page actually is a new thing as well. That's the things I was mentioning, where we actually are trying to kind of navigate the user more and more and kind of streamline the actual experience, that they can easily like find what are all sorts of opportunities they can have. So the trending page, the idea behind that is there's kind of a lot of trending options in DeFi you can do, and it's kind of hard to figure out how to do them and which are like the best ones, right? Essentially, so you have to spend a lot of time on crypto Twitter and follow some Telegram groups and so on, and to be able to figure out what all sorts of yielding opportunities and so on. So that's kind of the idea behind the trending page, is actually just kind of provide an easy UX to like, hey, currently there's 5, 6, 10 opportunities that we think that are kind of good to perform certain actions, and here's an easy way to do that. So obviously we mentioned a bit earlier on the discover page, like easily long it, short it, to do some kind of I guess, different kind of operations on them. One of interesting actually use case we actually are seeing quite a lot of action is the biggest card here is earn yield on annual rewards with liquid leverage. So that's kind of a new promotion between Aave and Ethena, I guess, where if the user creates a leverage position where there's 50% SUSD and 50% USDE, like 50-50 ratio in collateral, and then they like loop and borrow one of the stable coins and create kind of a yielding leverage position, they'll actually get additional rewards for USDE. So as USDE is kind of staking stable coin, USD is not. But if you create this kind of position where it's like a 50-50 ratio on collateral between those two tokens, you'll get additional rewards on USD, and you're like currently, I think like the net APY you can get is like 40% or something like that. And if we enter, for instance, some amount here, and maybe let's try like this. Yeah, we can see the net APY, for instance, is, I guess this one is the best. We add a bit of a leverage here. This is kind of a moat style. That's why we can go such high leverage, because it's between stable coins. So Aave actually allows us to go a bit more deep with the leverage. One thing I would say here, you'll see that you get a warning for the unfavorable price. That's because I'm in the simulation mode, so we are not using like the best off-chain prices. It's just for actually just kind of simulating on a frozen chain. That's why the prices are bad. In reality, you can put in quite some size. I think like people through us managed to create positions over like 10 million in size of the actual position. But you can kind of essentially play around with the amount and the leverage, and you can see like different essentially like different options on how you can create. Why this is kind of such a popular strategy essentially is because it's pretty hard actually to create it by hand, because you would need to supply USD, then stake some of the USD to get SUSD, then borrow from Aave, then exchange that to 50% SUSD, 50% USD, and then do that like 10 times to get this kind of leverage. Why the actual Zap is pretty cool here is that we actually like leverage our system we call like a recipe creator, where we can kind of easily plug in and play, and we can add like a flash loan at the beginning and kind of do some mathematical calculation, and you just end up with an end position which kind of works. So yeah, that's one of the things in the past like a couple of weeks that a lot of people are doing, and like DeFi Saver just saves them a lot of time and money actually to be able to just like one click and kind of easily actually see like what's going on in the background.
Yeah, I think it was great that you brought up these apps out of the one transaction apps. So another more general question, I guess, because you mentioned you just actually put in size on DeFi Saver is kind of for your user base. It's just mostly like sophisticated individuals or maybe a high net worth individuals who are DeFi power users, or do you guys have like an institutional kind of client base at all?
It's usually power users, I would say. It depends. It's not, I guess, like power users aren't really separated by how much money they have. You quite often have people with a lot of money, but not a lot of DeFi knowledge, and vice versa. We currently don't have any specific institutional support, right? We are kind of working on that as well. We definitely know a couple of institutions that are using us, as we provide kind of the same service, even if you're a small-time user or you have millions under management and so on. So the kind of capabilities and the interfaces are the same. So we have a lot of DeFi OG users that they do have a fair amount of cash, some institutional users, but also we support like you mentioned base network. So people maybe with just $100 can still use and create some opportunity here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess you guys definitely have like kind of all doors open. You could say, yeah, especially maybe right now they have like liquid funds and stuff like that, and maybe they're not they're interested in like just DeFi in general today. But yeah, I think I could definitely see more like that kind of activity on the institutional side, on chain, um, heating up a little bit. But yeah, so I think you guys also have the um, Saver aggregator as well, right? The swap aggregator.
Yeah, sure. Like we have essentially, if you look at the tooling here, we can minimize the protocols and see that we have, for instance, an exchange, which is
Right.
just
Okay.
easy to use exchange like anything else. When you enter the simulation mode, like here, you have like 100 free ETH you can play around with. So you can see you can kind of easily swap to all kinds of some tokens. One thing we also do is we kind of do meta-aggregation. So here you'll only see on-chain exchanges because I am in the simulation mode, but we do aggregate with 1inch Kyber Swap, Aldous
Mm.
Exchange, 0x, and a few others, Bebop, and I probably forgot some Paraswap as well. So we do have a lot of different aggregators of exchanges, just so because we have a lot of DeFi actions are including swaps. So obviously we want the user to have the best price. So essentially we did integrate a bunch of different options. And as you can see here, there's like no additional fees on you actually getting the meta aggregation in the actual exchange as well.
Okay, right. So this would be considered like a simple action, no fee.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm curious, like, what is the like feature or integrations that kind of like are responsible for like a lion's share of the revenue for you guys?
Yeah, sure. So like one of the most useful features in when we first started as well, and right now as well, is like the so-called boost and repay. You
Okay.
can think of them as like leverage and deleverage. So if you have an active position, you can easily kind of with one click, increase your leverage, increase your exposure, or decrease your exposure. Also, you would be able to like set up automatic leverage management. So like, hey, if the price drops or your position drops below 150%, then do like some action like deleverage or repay then. But obviously for something like Aave, we have like a bunch of different like financial strategies where you can close the whole position. Pick on like a boost on target is essentially like when the price reaches a certain point, do a leverage action and so on. So those are kind of the most useful stuff as well. One of the things people use quite often is actually the loan shifter. I mentioned before, like people are coming to DeFi Saver and they're kind of easily moving from one protocol to another and so on. So essentially, like loan shifter is your ability to, in one click, for instance, if you have a Morpho position and want to move it to Aave, it's kind of a one-click transaction, and your whole position just kind of magically happens on Aave. You can also kind of use like shift your loan and stay inside the same protocol. So if you have a
Mm.
Aave position and you want to change like the debt asset or something like that, you can easily do it on Loan Shifter. Also on Aave, we added kind of additional functionalities as well, where you can easily do like a collateral switch or a debt switch if you had debt right now on the actual interface as well. But yeah, for instance, Loan Shifter is one of the things we integrated like 3-4 years ago, and we see a lot of usage there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing I personally never used that feature, but yeah, like you just see it, like, okay, yeah, this thing gets like a lot of views. Yeah, that's got to be incredibly helpful. Um, but yeah, okay, I guess one kind of more out of the box question. This is more so in like Q1 earlier back then. Like there was like a little hype wave, like DeFi, like DEFAI,
Hmm.
like the yeah, like agentic automation type of stuff. Kind of fizzled out a little bit now, But yeah, like it was kind of an interesting concept back then. Like, yeah, have you guys thought about anything in that, bucket in that camp at all around like, yeah, just, like automation, like agentic solutions, anything like that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Like, I like how you put it. It's kind of for now, I do look at it as more as a hype word, right? Kind of there's buzz around it, and I do see some like actual use cases because obviously, if you're gonna automate something, you can put some basic parameters, but if you put in some intelligence around it, then obviously it can perform a bit better. I do think because of like the AI hype now is kind of trying to push it a bit more. From our side, we do have like we're one of the rare people that are actually doing some sort of DeFi automation as well, right? So we have a bunch of different strategies running, which aren't really AI, to be quite honest, right? Because we are more kind of focused on making them reliable and kind of having kind of easy to use, kind of strict financial positions. Like when this happened, then do this, instead of trying to like overcomplicate it with some sort of model, and then maybe the model doesn't perform so well and so on. All that being said, we are currently like researching like where can we actually utilize the actual AI capabilities that are trying now becoming like better and better. So we are kind of exploring like creating a strategy that will, for instance, optimize your borrowing APY, right? A lot of people are having a loan and they're kind of paying, maybe 5% APY, while they can easily be paying like 3% APY. And or if they're having the loan for a long time, well, obviously that's kind of a solid amount of money. And that's something that kind of a AI powered model or a model in general can kind of help you kind of decide for you like what's the best prediction of the how the APYs are going to move and so on. Yeah, but so long story short, we haven't integrated anything like that, but we are actually looking like if we can find kind of a legit use case for it, that would be kind of a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, I think it was interesting that you mentioned, yeah, kind of like the more simplistic use cases that could maybe be automated first. Like, yeah, someone just taking out a loan, just unnecessarily, yeah, just unnecessarily high rate. So yeah, I imagine like as the kind of user base gets more sophisticated and like the margins kind of slim down and there's just less like, yeah, the automated like the decision making just has to be more sharp. And it's just, yeah. But for some of these like more simplistic things, yeah, I guess you could see like why people, yeah, kind of try to experiment with those solutions. But yeah, I think this just came to mind. But yeah, it's kind of reminded me of like Axiom, right? Like on Solana, kind of like a front end for all like the launch pads and stuff and trading on Solana. And then now that they bring in like on any given day, like they sometimes bring in more revenue than the actual like launch pads themselves, right? Or it's not even just Axiom, like these trading terminal, like these like front end kind of trading terminals that are kind of, yeah, like routing through these dexes, integrating these launch pads, and then yeah, just because of the demand for just having like a unified interface that's simple, sleek, that maybe the protocol will actually at the smart contract level is unable to provide, and someone else can come in there, pick up the users, and then ultimately like yeah, you just charge fees on top of that. So yeah, I think the concept is really interesting. I guess like what do you guys like foresee for the like kind of general DeFi landscape as we finish out Q3 heading to Q4? Like, are there any kind of trends? Because you guys are like, I imagine you guys have to be on top of things, and you have so many integrations, so many protocols, right? Like, is there anything that you guys are noticing maybe that you guys think you would be, like keen to add? Like you guys just rolled out like the trending feature, the trending page, and it has the liquid leverage. Is there anything else like that you guys see on the horizon?
Yeah, definitely. Like in general, you definitely see, like you mentioned before, like DeFi is becoming more complex. Like we see probably like in the beginning there was like 1 or 2 use cases. Now there's, hundreds of use cases. So those are the kind of things that we're kind of actively monitoring for, like what are kind of some legit strategies that the users are doing or can do, and we can kind of streamline the experience for them as well. One of the things we're actually focusing right now also is to I mentioned before that we like utilize Safe as a smart wallet to provide additional functionalities as well. Obviously now we have a 7702, the new Ape, so a lot of things are now possible for account wallets as well. Even the new versions of the protocols actually have kind of capabilities for you to do a lot of like advanced stuff without the user actually, like the user's position being on the smart wallet. So we are working right now to add like more support for users that are on EOAs, because those are kind of the large majority of DeFi users are just having their position on their EOA wallets. So we are working on providing advanced actions, advanced strategies for EOA users. We have the capabilities to do those kind of things. So that's something that we definitely are working on right now. As far as like DeFi trends, I definitely see that we're really excited for things like Aave before. We see a lot of our users actually Aave users, so we think that that's probably will be kind of a huge improvement and something we will jump on top of it and kind of provide the best experience for people.
Right. And earlier, you mentioned how, like things like Loan Shifter, like some of these are kind of like your core features that you had around for years, right? And maybe kind of like the money makers for you guys. But then on the like actual protocol integration side, like have you guys seen like big swings in kind of the dependence, I guess, on like what, like over time as you have like Euler, you have Morpho, like these lending markets gaining more and more like traction, especially for like longer like tail end assets. Like do you guys see any trends like that, or more of like your guys' revenue is derived from like newer projects that maybe you weren't as interested in like a few months ago?
Yeah, we see a lot of different types of action. Like I mentioned before, I definitely think that currently like Aave is the kind of the biggest usage for us. It was before. Now it's actually like grown a lot. So I feel like they are kind of the top dog in the lending space right now. There's a couple of really, interesting protocols that, for instance, I mentioned before that, the InstantUp has the Fluid protocol, which we added kind of recently, and we immediately saw a lot of usage. The guys there obviously like innovated quite a few things, and people like really like to use Fluid, and there's a bunch of cool things associated with it as well. Morpho obviously has a lot of different markets, a lot of different options you can do on Morpho. They're big on base and have a lot of traction there. So yeah, we saw a couple of besides Aave, we saw a couple of other protocols kind of making their own kind of space in that market. Yeah.
Okay. So sounds like you guys are like pretty on top of like all the other lending protocols, and how instrumental they could be, but the Aave dominance is still like pretty very strong. Okay, so I guess before we close out a little bit, like I kind of just want to ask, like what do you guys have planned, I guess, in the near term? Do you guys have anything planned on? You guys rolled out the discovery page and the trending page that's kind of on the like visibility, I guess you could say. Like, do you guys have anything related to like marketing or anything like that, or is your audience kind of a more of like the audience that will come to you guys, or just kind of walk me through the mindset?
We do have like active marketing campaigns. We have a whole marketing team to do that. Recently, we did start to kind of put out a lot more content. So we're kind of now actively writing, the newsletters, blog posts, help articles, YouTube videos, Twitter content. So essentially, that's kind of the biggest venue there. Obviously, we, go to conferences and do all sorts of kind of the usual stuff. But as far as marketing goes, we kind of try with like content education, doing, podcasts like yours and kind of spreading the word out there. Like that's the current marketing strategy. As far as the cool new features, like you mentioned before, like something we're excited about is kind of more EOA support, especially for like automation as well. I feel like a lot of people were kind of somewhat like blocked or kind of not used to like using a smart wallet or thinking that it's kind of a different kind of flow they're used to. So obviously having kind of exposure to a wider market, that's something that we're looking at. And a couple of other things as well. Like we're trying essentially to funnel more and more like advanced users to us and then actually provide like better experiences. So a lot of times those are like small UI improvements. Sometimes those are, creating, another strategy for the user, expanding the P&L and the history section and kind of just providing all sorts of like small additional values that add up for a much better interface that you will get anywhere else.
Right. I'll ask one quick question. I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, but I'm curious. So I asked earlier about so it sounds like, okay, you guys have the DeFi powered user thing kind of like on lock. That's responsible for, your revenue, right? With the fees for sophisticated transactions, working a little bit more on like the newcomers, institutions, you have some. It could be a growing use case for you guys. And then what about the like on-chain treasury side of things? Because there's a lot of like idle, BTC, ETH denominated, stable coins in these treasuries. Are you guys thinking about that space at all?
Like you mentioned a bit earlier, we are kind of more and more looking at the actual institutional space, which I kind of relate with you mentioning like on-chain treasuries. So it's actually kind of a good fit with us because if you actually look at least a lot of, DeFi and crypto protocols, a lot of those on-chain treasuries are actually on like safe multisigs. And one of the things we are actually working on and worked on is having like built-in integrated safe support, right? So if some company, treasury individual, or whatever has, their treasury on a safe wallet, they can really easily manage it through DeFi app, because that's kind of we're kind of a safe native app for that. That's from that end, it's kind of an easy thing to do, and we provide a lot of options. And obviously, usually the treasury managers don't do risky stuff, so they can do kind of some low yield safe strategies. We have a lot of support for that as well.
Right. And then one last thing on my mind as well is like, would you guys ever entertain doing some kind of like CeFi, DeFi type stuff, kind of like combining the two, like kind of like Maple, right? Like the permissionless lending, but permission borrowing. Like, is that something that could maybe be in your guys' wheelhouse?
Yeah, like maybe honestly, we haven't put a lot of thought into it. We started off as a really like a DeFi native platform. So I wouldn't say that we are kind of if we think that's something like beneficial for the users and it will actually kind of push people to use more DeFi, yes. But essentially we are kind of DeFi native, crypto native, and like we like the non-custodial approach and using, protocols instead of, bank accounts and stuff like that. So we're always pushing more on the actual like pure DeFi side.
Great. Yeah. Straight answer. I think this has been a great chat, Nenad. That's a good, like kind of demo for anyone who hasn't been familiar with the product. Is there anything else that you want to leave with the users?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we did somewhat of a good job to explain what DeFi Saver is. I guess the last word is, check out the app, check out all the things you can do there. Like I said, you can press the simulation mode. You don't have to spend any money. You can kind of see like what's out there, and hit us up on, Telegram and Twitter and Discord if you have any feedback for us. That's always interesting to hear.
Yeah, and for the listeners, obviously, links will be in the description for, all of our episodes. We'll leave the links, but for this one especially, yeah, I think this is going to be relevant, more so than usual for our audience. Yeah, I want to thank you for coming on, Nenad, and thank you everyone for listening. Thank you.
Thanks.